Turn your life around for the final bell. It's now or never, you have to change well. It's now or never, you must change well.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Change Well podcast. Now, before launching at this week's topic, I would like to tell you all that I was recently on High Velocity Radio podcast, and I was talking about my story, the origin of Wellness Leadership, which is my company, everything wellness and how it impacts businesses. So I will have a link in the show notes to that podcast. But without further ado, let's go on the topic at hand. Now, I think I discussed this at the last podcast. I just got back from a trip in New York City. And as we all know, that New York City is called the city that never sleeps. My wife and I had a great time with our son and his wife. We got a lot of exercise. We walked at least 12,000 steps a day. New York, could also be called the city where everyone walks. You don't see anybody heavy there. I mean, even if you're going down the subway, you have to walk to the subway. And so it was surprising when I weighed in the day I got back that I gained weight. I was half expecting to drop a few pounds. However, I looked at the scale and I'd gained 5 pounds in 5 days. How did this happen? You say, oh yeah, you probably ate some of that good New York pizza or had some of that Brooklyn IPA. That is my third favorite beer. But no, it wasn't that. I actually didn't eat that much. And also, you look at it, I maybe ate a little bit more, but the extra exercise would have took care of it. So what was the culprit? After reviewing my Fitbit data while trying to soothe some of my aching muscles, I identified the twin culprits. I should have known this since both these problems have waylaid my wellness journey in the past. And quite frankly, the person who barely sleeps, that's me, and seldom stretches, went to the city that never sleeps and always walks. Too little sleep and insufficient stretching have been the two most significant negative factors in my health, including during my weight loss journey when I lost 170 pounds. Every week that I gained weight, the number one factor was lack of sleep. It wasn't overeating. I got through a few times with overeating, and I made it through and lost weight when I didn't exercise as much. But if I had under 5 or about 5 hours average sleep, I would gain weight. So let's just look at a few anecdotes of why sleep and stretching are so important. First, the impact of sleep apnea on my health and other people's health. When I first was starting out on my wellness journey, I had an undiagnosed sleep apnea. Oh, it's undiagnosed on my part. My kids probably, in fact, one of my kids recorded me snoring, right? And I was heading to my peak weight because of the sleep apnea. Now, for you who do not know about it, sleep apnea is a severe sleep disorder in which breathing repeatedly starts and stops. You stop breathing and then you rapidly start up again and you're snoring and all this kind of stuff. Now, I didn't really know I had it. I knew I was heavy. My kids pointed out I snored, but I thought it was really from being too tired at work but really it was I wasn't getting a restful sleep. So finally, I bit the bullet and I went to a sleep study where they confirmed sleep apnea and prescribed a thing called a CPAP. Now, we'll have a picture in my blog that I'll have in the show notes. But a CPAP is a medical device that forces air through a mask to open up your airways. Even though I looked like something out of my son-in-law's steampunk movies, I wore it every night for a year until I rectified the condition. The impact of getting more sleep was immediate and positive. In 1 month, without changing other habits, I lost 20 pounds from wearing this CPAP and getting good sleep. Now, sleep apnea causes several conditions that lead to weight gain. The first one is metabolic syndrome, which includes high blood pressure, abnormal cholesterol levels, high blood sugar, and increased waist circumference. and it is linked to higher risk of heart disease. I had all these when I finally went to the doctor and decided to get tested for them. Another symptom of sleep apnea is daytime drowsiness and irritability, which we all know makes it harder to exercise and raises the level of cortisol, which has been known to increase your weight. I could go on and on discussing how much lack of sleep wreaks havoc on the hormones that control appetite, but the bottom line is that sleep apnea and lack of sleep must be tackled head on. I got so much benefit out of my CPAP that I took it with me on all my business trips. It was a total pain lugging it around the airports. It counts as one of your carry-ons, okay? And when I got to the hotel, even if it was like midnight, I had to find distilled water because you can't bring it on the plane with you. And so, and it's needed for the CPAP machine to work. But I got to tell you one thing, and I get a little emotional about this. That ugly mask in an equally non-stylish brown case that I lugged around on planes and looked like a total dork with saved my life and my health. And after a year of using it and losing a great deal of weight, in part because of it, my sleep apnea was resolved. So that's the first anecdote. Talking about my sleep apnea and how that lack of sleep because of that condition really, really impacted my health and my weight. The second thing that I want to talk about is anxiety and sleep deprivation. Sleep apnea is not the only thing that detracts from a good day's rest. Anxiety and worry can cut into your sleep time and can cause weight gain and lack of productivity. I still struggle with getting enough sleep, even though my sleep apnea is resolved. And more often than not, it is due to worse casting of upcoming events or replaying negative things from the day before. The impact of less than 7 hours of sleep due to anxiety is harmful to your health. I have now tracked my eating and health habits for 10 years in Fitbit and the Weight Watcher applications. And the number one factor, and I'm a geek on statistics, that correlates to a weekly weight gain is not getting enough sleep. I maintain my weight through a momentary eating binge or a weekend rest on the couch. But if I have had a bad week of sleep, I will gain. Hands down, which is what happened in New York City. Everyone is a bit different. This is me. But that is the case with me. And I think most people are impacted by a lack of sleep in a negative way on their wellness. Now I'm going to switch over to the benefits of stretching. Some people love the stretch. I got to tell you, I hate it. My muscles are like rocks. That's good and it's bad, but I just hate stretching. However, after tweaking my back numerous times and having all the flexibility of the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz before he had the oil, I know I need to do it. The health benefits of stretching are well documented. One of them is it prevents injury. I know this firsthand from the times I've been laid up in bed due to tweaking my back or my legs locking up on me on a 5-mile walk. However, these problems have significantly reduced since I started my daily stretching habit, which, by the way, I didn't do while I was in New York. Point number 2 bad against me. Another benefit of stretching is reducing anxiety. Deep breathing practices combined with stretching have been also shown to reduce stress and stress eating even more. You do not need to be some kind of yogi to benefit from stretching, deep breathing, and meditation. As for me, I stretch in the pool while silently praying. The pool's buoyancy helps me with my tightened muscles and ability to do stretches that require balance like a hamstring stretch. Now, if you are into yoga, that's great, but that's what works for me, this method. Now that we have examined the adverse effects of not sleeping and stretching and the positive benefits of doing so, let's return to my recent trip to New York City. NYC is called the city that never sleeps for a good reason. If you are anywhere in that city, you must deal with street noise at all night hours. Even like if you were us and we were 8 floors up in a hotel. And you also have to deal with light pollution. Again, in this case, even though we were 8 floors up, directly across from us was the Empire State Building that had lights on all night. And even though I wore a sleep mask and earplugs provided by the hotel, something I never do, but I have done ever since I returned, I could not sleep well. Also, anxiety from having to make a big decision while we're on a trip and meeting new people for the first time seriously curtailed my sleep. Looking back at the data, had averaged less than 4 hours, and one day had 2 hours of sleep. Now let's turn to the failure to stretch while I was in New York. Despite walking the whole High Line, Chelsea Market, and most of Brooklyn, I did not do as much as a calf stretch. This contrasts with my wife, who, due to her great planning, had scheduled a robotic massage from Escape. Yeah, that Escape, the one that Colbert talked about on the Late Show. I've included a link to the video of this robotic massage machine. I think it's the next big craze, because the result of my lack of stretching and my wife's forethought in scheduling a massage is, as soon as I got back, I tweaked my back on the return flight, sending me back a few days when I couldn't exercise as much. In contrast, the day we got off the plane, my wife was out on the farm in her apiary, moving the beehives around and everything else. So good on her part, bad on my part for letting out my stretch habit. My previous experiences and our recent trip to New York indicate the importance of sleep and stretching on health. And here are just 4 practices that you can do to help you sleep and stretch more. First is establish a relaxing pre-sleep ritual. To sleep better, you need to quiet your mind before going to bed. Read a book, listen to quiet music, pray or meditate, and most importantly, turn off the TV and your phone, even though if you're in the middle of binging Lost, which we are right now. Second, limit noise and light pollution. This may not be entirely possible in cities like NYC, but try your best with blackout curtains, earplugs, and sleep masks. Also, if you could turn off your Wi-Fi, it is very important. It really disrupts your sleep, and we've been doing this now for about 5 months. And of course, I couldn't turn it off in New York, but when we turn off our router, I get a lot better sleep. A third thing is turn on white noise or natural sounds. So there's apps that can do this. You can get natural sounds. I like listening to rain in the beach. Several manufacturers make these devices. You can get it on apps like Calm, Hallow. But this is a good way to relax. At least it works for me. Some people may not want any noise, but I like a sound like you're in nature. Fourth, stretch to reduce anxiety, encourage sleep, and reduce muscle tightness. You need to keep up your daily stretching routine when you're on vacation. It also, besides relieving muscle tightness, it helps you with stress. And it doesn't matter what the size of your hotel room in NYC. Some of them are pretty small. You could still find a room to do a calf stretch. Come on. Be realistic. Better yet, have the forethought. Schedule a massage like my wife. You can get a real massage. You don't need a robotic one. But it is pretty cool. Now, I usually close with a song. And I may not be Frank Sinatra, but I wanted to start spreading the news about the importance of sleeping and stretching, even in New York City, and indeed worldwide. So here it goes. Start spreading the news. You need it today. You must sleep and stretch in New York, New York. These ragged boat shoes, they have walked all day, right to the very heart of it in old New York. I I want to sleep in the city that never sleeps, and find I'm rested well. Hey, I'm top of the heap. My muscle fatigue is melting away. I got a robotic massage in old New York. And if you can sleep and stretch there, you can do it anywhere. It's up to you in New York, New York. Dot, 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 dot. And then, until next week, sleep, stretch, and change well.